relationship with the legislature compared to Nikki Haley and Mark Sanford? If you're elected governor, what would your governing style be?
Well, I think you've seen it while I've been in Congress, but I am a creature of the legislature, so I come from the State House. I actually talked to leadership in the legislature last week to let them know that I was announcing today and this morning. We got to roll up our sleeves and get to work. They're not going to like everything that I come out with, but I have always had an open door policy. I am willing to work with you if you are willing to work with me, and that is my mantra. That is the way that I lead, and that is the way that I work, and that's the way that I'll work for South Carolina.
Do you think you'd be more combative?
What's combative? Making sure men are out of women's dormitories, because that's happening in South Carolina. We have colleges that can't define a woman. We have state income taxes that are too high. If I wanted to get it to zero and I want to protect women and kids, that's not combative. I know you want it to be, but it's not.
But Congresswoman, in that vein, we're hearing the Citadel, your alma mater, honor, duty, respect. That's the motto here. Will you be embodying that on the campaign trail as well?
I live that mantra. I was made here at the Citadel. I love the Citadel. It made me who I am. It gave me courage and discipline and confidence to do what I'm doing today and be prepared for this moment. So I'm excited about it, but we have a lot of work to do. And as you saw, I unveiled a series of policies. There will be more to come. And in terms of, I'm even going to write legislation because I love doing that. It's important that you have a governor who understands the laws and how they're implemented, how they're followed, and how they're not followed. And so I'm going to be very involved in every process of policy. I wrote those boards, and I'll be writing a policy handbook myself because I'm that passionate about South Carolina.
Congresswoman, talk to me about your decision not to run for re-election in the first. Do you have any hopes for who might fill that seat?
Well, I don't believe you can run for two seats to be on the ballot for two different offices. I made the decision early on when I ran for Congress. I said that I believed in term limits. 3 terms is what I said. 3 terms is what I'm doing. I will work through the rest of my term and run for governor. I'll be on the ballot in June only for governor. Yeah.
Congressman, a few days ago you posted about the altercation at that football game. You said it's recalled a hate crime. Should South Carolina have a hate crimes law on the books?
I would support any laws that put bad people in jail. We don't have one. We're one of the few states that don't have one, and would support that as well. But look, I mean, I'm a victim of a broken system. One of the reasons that I'm so passionate about South Carolina is I have seen how broken our court system is. Look in Myrtle Beach at the case of Scott Spivey. You had a guy who was chased 9 miles down the road, shot at 17 times, killed, and there was not a single investigation to see if that was even murder. Everyone looked the other way. We have rapists that are walking free. We have pedophiles. We have, in South Carolina, we had a solicitor just a week or two ago in the judicial circuit that covers Sumter County. He prosecuted 1 DUI case 2 weeks ago. And yet in Sumter County, there are 60 murder cases on the docket that are not getting prosecuted. Right here in Charleston County, where we are, 9th Judicial Circuit Solicitor Scarlett Wilson has over 350 murder cases, attempted murder cases on the docket, aren't getting prosecuted. The days of no prosecution are over. The days of pedophiles getting a day in jail are over. The days of rape kits not getting processed are over when I'm governor. No one's going to work harder or fight harder for South Carolina.
You said that you're Trump in heels and told other members of the media that you're very confident about your ability to get Trump's endorsement. When did you last speak to him? Why do you feel so confident that you're the woman he'll support?
Well, I don't know that. I don't speak for the president, but I will say no one will work harder than I will. I've communicated with him over the weekend, letting him know my plans to announce this morning.
Representative Mace, earlier this year you had a stunning speech on the House floor.
Yep.
You talked a little bit about your personal situation, something involving your fiance. How do you expect that to play into this race? Former fiance.
Yeah.
How do you expect that to play into this race? And Alan Wilson is now your former competitor.
Well, one of the reasons I'm running is because of what happened there, and I understand how broken the system is. I have spoken to now so many victims unrelated to that case, and there's still an open and ongoing investigation, but that have seen the broken system. I met with the Spivey family in Laura, South Carolina. Scott Spivey, I just talked about, who was killed, shot 17 times, killed, and no investigation for possible murder. And by the way, the guy that shot him was on tape talking about how terrified Spivey was and bragging about shooting him. There should have been an investigation for justice for that family. I have talked to so many rape victims. There are people in this state, we get calls every day right now because people feel that I am their only key to getting justice in this state, because I'm willing to call out the solicitors, I'm willing to call it the attorney generals, and I'm willing to call for justice. And that means we can't just stop at arrests. We have SLED and we have police officers who do all these investigations. They arrest people, and then nobody goes to jail. And no one knows this better than I do, based on what happened to me 2 years ago. And if that's happening to me as a member of Congress, imagine what is happening to the average South Carolinian. It is far, far worse. So this is not about me. This is about protecting them. And I'll tell you, the establishment is coming after me because I'm standing up and fighting for everyday, hardworking South Carolinians.
How will you work to shift the balance of power, or more power, away from?
That's certainly a challenge right now. It's the governor's position doesn't have as much power. I will use the bully pulpit, unlike any governor in the state of South Carolina in its history. I'd use my bully pulpit in Congress, and I will take it to South Carolina.
Congressman, you've been in support of creating some sort of alligator Alcatraz, something similar in South Carolina. How would you pay for that?
Well, that's something we would have to figure out through the budget. Now, I have started to analyze the budget, and I put some of that data on the board. Right now, initially, what I would do is I've identified, I believe, over 400 spaces or beds where we could house illegals in different facilities. I would start there, use existing facilities that we already have across the state, statewide, before I went and then built a structure. So policy-wise, that's what you'll see me roll out. I've already identified those locations, and we will roll that out when we put details together in our policy book to the path to prosperity for South Carolina.
Representative, I got one more. So I talked to some lawmakers in Congress about your potential bid. Some folks said that you may be a little bit more into antics than policy making right now. That's their words, not mine.
Yeah.
So where do you find yourself in the modern day Republican Party on Capitol Hill? And I know that you have an attack ad, or not an attack ad, pardon me, a commercial going out today talking about how you are not afraid to hit both sides of the aisle. Where are you right now with that, with your own party and now with this new run?
I'm a bona fide Republican, but I am a conservative, but I have had an independent voice. Republicans and Democrats alike have spent us into oblivion. The reason that we have the $37 trillion in debt and counting today is because Republicans ganged up with Democrats and put this country on the brink of fiscal collapse. Both parties did that. I have never voted to raise taxes or anything of that nature, and I call out both parties. And I voted to hold people in contempt on both sides when I felt they did the wrong thing. And so that's something that's different because I'm a true conservative, unlike most folks who are in this race. I have the bona fides. When it comes to legislation, one of my frustrations with you all in the press, and I keep repeating this, and the fake news, is that I actually am one of the highest ranked members of Congress for drafting legislation. In the last ranking we saw last week, I'm in the 1.59% of members of Congress who file legislation. That means I'm number 10 or 12, something like that, out of 435 plus the non-voting members. We file on average 2 to 3 bills a week. I'm actually very driven with policy. When I was a state lawmaker, I would sometimes draft my own bills. I would sometimes draft bills and give them to other lawmakers because I've been very involved with policy. I always have been, but the press will never, ever cover it. I was one of only 12 bills or 12 members that had a bill in the House Rules Package in January. There were 12 bills in our Rules Package. My bill, the Violence Against Women by Illegal Aliens Act, was one of the first 12 bills that were passed out of the House because that's what the president wanted, that's what Speaker Johnson wanted. So I would encourage the press to look at my record. It's actually very robust, but sometimes y'all want to write about my pajamas. I do behind the scenes. I like people to know I'm a real human. I want you to see what life is like behind the scenes, that it's not pomp and circumstance. Sometimes you drive 12 hours through the middle of the night to get to a vote because you want to vote on the president's big, beautiful bill. I want to show people how hard I'm working. I had to drive home 4 times from D.C. last month through the middle of the night because my flights got canceled. I mean, that's just real life, and that's how hard I'm willing to work. But legislatively, one of the top producers of policy on the Hill today, and I really hope that you will include that in your stories.
Okay, one last question. Can I speak this in real quick so I can get it? Question for you. I mean, working in state legislature is different than working in Congress. What do you feel like a learning curve for you would be if you were governor?
Getting people to work together. So one of the things that I've learned is that not that we don't have enough departments and agencies and people in government, federal, state, or local. It's that sometimes we are not communicating. So one of the very first projects I worked on as a member of Congress was on Crab Bank. For 11 years, the local folks were trying to get Crab Bank replenished and done. 11 years. It took me 11 weeks to bring together the town of Mount Pleasant, environmental stakeholders, wildlife stakeholders, the Army Corps of Engineers. It took us 11 weeks holding multiple meetings to get all the stakeholders together to get that done. We had a project on Daniel Island, a bridge project, probably about 2 years ago. It was being held up by Army Corps of Engineers. We have a good relationship with the Army Corps. We got that permit expedited in just a few hours. Johnny Cribb with Berkeley County called maybe last year. It was about the dredging project in Berkeley County. They were up against a deadline, and he called me on a Friday, and if they didn't have the permit approved by Monday, the county was going to lose $20,000 a day. So we got on the phone with the Army Corps of Engineers again, and by Monday, that issue was resolved. They had the permit, and they were not losing $20,000 a day. So being able to communicate, being the glue that brings everybody together is what stands out. I've been extremely effective at getting federal grant funding. I want to make sure that every municipality, every town, every county, every congressional office, that we're all working together to make sure we get all the resources we need in South Carolina for everything. And we've been very effective at it. And with Trump as president, it's going to be very important that we have a governor who has a great relationship with the president, like I do. All right, thank you so much. You guys have Sydney and Piper's information. Thank you for being here. Appreciate y'all. So thank you very much.